make sure it works. All right. Well, welcome to another edition of the Mile High Real Estate Spotlight. And this is Brian Arnold, and it's just excited to have Paula Workman on today because when we think about realtors or real estate agents, we think of the ones that are doing the best for the clients, at least here in the Denver metro area. And out of the tens of thousands of real estate agents, I think like even DMAR has over 9,000 registered real estate agents. Not all of them are meeting the needs of the community. Not that they don't want to, but some of them are just maybe not as good or haven't figured it out as well. But this podcast is spotlighting the folks who are doing it, who are in the community that are helping people. And when we start thinking about wealth and personal wealth and generational wealth, it's my belief and a whole bunch of other people's belief that the best stair step to generational wealth and to personal wealth is through homeownership. And finding ways to make sure that people get into homes is what the best real estate agents and the best realtors do. They figure it out. They find ways. They connect with the right lenders. They connect with the right, investors, and connect with the right, folks that do appraisals and everything else to move that process forward so people aren't as scared. I say this in many podcasts that people that are renting are paying. In fact, I met with somebody this week who was in an apartment paying $3,000 a month for his apartment. And I said, that's $36,000 a year that you're putting into that. If you stay in that apartment for 10 years, you've now given that landlord $360,000. You've paid for that unit. You've paid for it. You just start thinking about how much people are paying that don't need to be paying in that space. And so home ownership is what we're here. And so today, Paula, thank you for being on today. Thank you for being willing. I know this isn't something you do all the time, but we love to have it. So if you could kind of first just tell us how to get a hold of you. And then from there, maybe kind of tell us about your story. How did you get involved in this business? Why would you even want to get involved with this business? And then we'll go from there after that. So how do we get a hold of you?
Okay. Workman and Associates, 303-888-1033. And call me. I like talking to people on the phone. I like that better than texting or emailing.
I love it. And I specialize in reverse mortgages, so I work with seniors all the time. And I can promise you, there was somebody asking me the other day, I want you to do a campaign. They were wanting to help me out with the campaign, right? All this AI and the chat, whatever it is that is trying to take over our world. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, we want to set a text campaign to all your seniors. And I'm like, why would I do that? Why would I spend any money trying to text people that want to talk on the phone? So I am so glad that you are there where you're saying, yes, there is still art to having conversations and to talking to people. Absolutely. And to find out what they want. So how did you get involved with this business? I'm assuming this isn't your first year doing real estate, correct?
No, I've been actually licensed since 1978. I got my broker's license in 1979. It was necessity. Back then, we had a really large real estate company, and each office actually had to have a managing broker. And so we needed another license, and so I went and got one. Actually did not start selling myself until 1984. Waited till our kids were a little bit bigger, and I've been listing and selling since then. And it's been an amazing career.
Oh, that is so cool. And just the longevity, I'm thinking I graduated from Cherokee High School in 1983. So, you were just getting started and getting going. And if I would have known what I know now, I would have come to you to get a house, right? As soon as I graduated. When you think about the power of home ownership and what it allows you to do. And, and I've been telling people, I believe college is important. I have an education. I got an education that allowed me to do a whole lot of things in my life. But if I had to go back, and I'm thinking about my kids and, the kids, there's so many ways to go to college that, with scholarships and grants and, researching that kind of stuff and the ability, I almost would say I would rather get somebody a down payment on a house so that they can build equity than to spend the kind of money that some parents are spending on colleges. When you think of $100,000 or $150,000 a year for some of these schools, you're almost buying a house by the time that they graduate from school. And the salary that they make at that crazy private school that's $150,000 a year is probably the same salaries they make at the state that they graduated from the state school with the same degree with $400,000 less debt. So with that, what is your favorite part about being, in this real estate game, in this real estate business?
I love working with people one-on-one, Brian. Um,
Okay.
Large crowds is not my thing. Management is not my thing, but I love helping people. And this has afforded me an opportunity to help people achieve their goals, and I
Mm-hmm.
can still make a living. And backtracking to a little bit of what you said, I have 19-year-old triplet grandchildren,
Whew.
and they all just started real estate school.
Oh,
And it's our goal this summer for them to get through it and get licensed. And I'm really, really excited about that.
that is cool. I just, I'm thinking of what that could possibly be as the three of them together,
Mhm,
tackling the world
mhm.
in a business that has the ability to pay well, to give, like you said, a living, and then help people at the same time. What a great, endeavor for them to go through. I love hearing that. So what over the, if we think about your career in here, what makes, I guess, you stand apart from, there's all these folks that get into real estate, and we talk about the thousands that are in, and some do really well and some don't do as well. What are some of the things that you do that makes you exceptional in this space?
Well, first of all, communication and
Mhm.
personal contact. I think that is absolutely crucial. And staying in touch with your clients,
Mhm.
sitting down and visiting with them about what they're trying to accomplish,
Mhm.
help them focus in on what their goals might be, and then working with them to get to that end. Over the years, I have established a wonderful network of lenders that I trust, title people that I trust, insurance people that I trust, inspectors that I trust. And so you are taking, and I love working with first time buyers. You're taking these people and guiding them through and in a fair and honest manner so that nobody takes advantage of them. And that to me is huge.
Oh gosh, it is so huge. I mean, and there's so many people out there that are willing to take advantage of
Mhm.
people and willing to gouge them in some areas. And as I've even talked to some of the lender I was working with, and I was trying to get a gentleman, into a house. We're having issues with the condo, and getting the condo approved. And I asked him. He said he could do it. So I'm okay. So if you can do it, great. Take my guy, make it happen.
Mhm.
I'm okay with that. I asked him a couple questions. He goes, "Well, you can't do it, then then I'll just go ahead and take it because you're not worthy of being able to do it." I'm like, "What?" And then it comes up to that. He tells this guy something. He tells the guy he's going to walk over to the HOA association, and he does. And the HOA pretty much tells the guy to kick rocks and go away. So the guy wasted all this time while he's trying to make this commission because he doesn't want to work. And so that happens. And you said that one of the things you just said is you want to find out their goals and their dreams and what they want. How important is that in the transaction process of understanding that?
Brian, if you don't know what a buyer is or a seller is trying to accomplish and what their end game is, how could you possibly get there? You can't set a path if you don't know where you're going. And it's absolutely crucial. Um, in my opinion, it's absolutely crucial to sit down with the lender before you even get going to find out what you can do after that
Mm-hmm.
initial meeting, and then providing information to let them focus in on what's available for what they can do, and then
Yeah.
persevering until you can get there. In the last couple of years, the challenge was you were trying to beat out so many people for the limited amount of product that
Mm-hmm.
you were doing outrageous things to accomplish the goals. I never did that with anybody, and yet the people I worked with got a home. And now we're trying to figure out how to maximize what folks can do with the interest rates where they are. But there's
Mhm.
a way to get it done. As long as you're working with a lender who knows what they're doing, you can get it done.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many, and just going into that, folks think at this point in time, this is, I should wait and not buy a house. And you start talking to, first time folks who are living in this apartment who are paying this $3,000 a month, and they're telling, I should wait because the interest rates are what they are, or I should wait because there's not a lot of inventory. What would you say to that? I mean, for somebody who comes to you and says, I think I should just wait.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, bad decision, because
Mhm.
because prices are not going to come down
Mhm.
appreciably. I don't care what the economic gurus are telling us, because they are wise looking at what used to be. They cannot predict the future any better than you or I can. So I would tell them, if this is what you want to do and you can see your way clear to come up with a down payment and figure out what you can afford in terms of a payment, there is no better time than now, because inventory is not going to improve drastically anytime soon, and interest rates are not going to improve drastically anytime soon. You probably know that better than me, but if this is your goal, there truly is no better time than right now.
Yeah, and I had clients who came to me the other day, and they when you think of some of our communities who haven't seen, like, their parents didn't have a house, their grandparents didn't have a house, the people that are their associations are telling them this is a bad idea. And they came to me the other day and they said, we were thinking about buying a house, but all the people that we're talking to are saying you don't want to buy a house because if something breaks, you have to fix it. And when you live in an apartment, you don't have to fix it. I mean, that is, and I'm saying no, or they said somebody lost their house because the furnace broke and they couldn't fix it. And I'm like, I've never heard of that in my life. How does that get into your head, or how does that community? And so what do we kind of do with this group of folks as we're having these conversations to kind of, the 20% down myth, the if I get into the house and the neighbors don't like me, that all these things that are real. You think this can't really be a part of their decision making process, but then when you talk to them, it is. How do we as an industry or people there kind of combat some of this?
Well, I think first of all, you have to establish rapport with the people so that they're kind of feeling comfortable with
Yeah.
you and trust what you're telling
Mhm.
them. I think that's really important. Um, I always say to everybody and your brother are going to give you advice as you go through this process. And I'm going to tell you, listen to them, because you need to be polite, and let what they're saying go in one ear and out the other. And if you have a question, come and ask me, because everybody means well, and half the time they don't know what they're talking about. I too have heard, the closing process, the whole thing, it was so hard. It was such brain damage. But I'm telling you, if you're working with me, it is not the case. And um, I have a young couple that I worked with twice. They were referred to me by a friend of theirs, and we found him a condo in Aurora a couple of years ago. And then he got a job transfer down to Colorado Springs. And so they both grew up in the Springs. And so we sold the condo and they bought down in the Springs. And at the closing, she said to me, Paula, this was so easy.
Mm.
Thank you so much. And I said to her, you know what? You're welcome. But if it was easy, I did my job. And so you need to be with the right professional. And I can't say that often enough.
Oh, that is so, so true. And you think of that, that's what the experience comes from. Because I can imagine, since, in the 1980s, you've had some crazy stuff that's happened, to get through it. But those are all learning experiences, right? And so, those things get to pile on and pile on. And then you find, like you said, the right people that you associate with, the right, referral partners, the right, people that how to manipulate, where somebody can come in and it just be smooth all the way through. And here's where I think somebody like yourself really makes a difference, because every transaction has its own life. Every transaction has its own hiccups. I was telling somebody today, I don't know what's going to happen. I just know something's going to happen. But I can imagine over time, and you maybe to speak to this, that there's probably hardly anything you haven't seen that hasn't brought it.
I would not say that, because
Really? Okay.
stuff comes up all the time. And just yesterday, I closed on a transaction, and I've never had this happen before. The sellers were tenants in common.
Mm-hmm.
Half was an estate, and half was one of the children of the original owner of the property.
Okay.
And so we actually had to close with two separate deeds. One was the personal representative's deed, and the other one was a general warranty deed. And I've never had that happen before. So that was kind of interesting. And
Yeah.
it was a little bit of a learning experience, working through figuring out how to get that accomplished, starting with how to do two separate deeds and all those names on the contract separately.
Oh gosh, yes, I
That
can
was
imagine.
so
Mhm.
if you stop learning, you're not doing your job. And oh, by the way, I always tell everybody my crystal ball doesn't work. I
It
don't
doesn't, as much as you
know.
rub it, huh?
I don't know what's going to happen.
As much as you look into it and rub it
Not a
and
clue.
spin it
Not a clue.
around, and
Not a clue.
if it did right, we'd all have the lottery, and we wouldn't. That would be the other way
Oh,
of creating
yeah,
wealth, right?
right. Absolutely. But even if I did, I wouldn't retire because I love what I do.
Gotcha. Well, you've seen, folks. Some folks have said to me, "This is a tough market." Other people say this is a great opportunity. Other people have said we just need to push through whatever we're doing, and other people say, "Hey, I can't wait to do another transaction." In your mind, maybe you can talk about, you've seen several different markets. You've seen the ups and you've seen the downs. What would you say about this market, and then where you think it's going in our future?
First of all, I think the market is kind of back to an equalization of the market. Prices are not accelerating exponentially overnight.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen a little bit of a stabilization and maybe even a little bit of a drop. We're seeing sellers pay closing costs, pay for buy down on interest rates, whereas a year ago there was no way they would have done that. So I think it is probably a little bit better in favor of the buyers.
Okay.
I have seen inventory increase just a little bit, and always kind of funny to me, a couple of years ago, new construction, builders were not paying a commission to realtors because they didn't have to. And now they're back to paying a commission. So it just kind of tells you that realtor is necessary to bring the buyers to the table. And the market, again, it's kind of stabilized a little bit. I think that this is what we're going to see for the next quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're going to see any huge influx in inventory. And I think what's different about this market is perception. Um, the media beats on us so much about how bad things are that everybody believes it. And it's not. It's just not. And I am, after all these years, regardless of everything, I am incredibly optimistic. And it's the way I am. But things are fine. And if you have a will to get it done, give you and me a call and we'll figure out how to get it done for you.
Absolutely. And you think of, and I think of our media and where we are as a country. Like, if they're trying to, slow down, the economy, they're trying to, by raising interest rates or whatever it is that they're doing, their narrative almost has to be it's doomsday to try to stop us from continuing to buy, right? Because that's what they're trying to do is hedge inflation. And I think what people don't realize is they're doing this on purpose because they want to slow you down. They want you to slow you down. But then that gives such a great opportunity, for the the person who's wanting to get into a house, or the person, when we think about all these DPA programs, they weren't around 20 years ago. They weren't around, some of you even 10 years around. And like now you think of the opportunity for somebody to get into a home for almost less than buying a car, right? I can go buy a home with a down payment assistance program that will allow me to at least get my first property easier, maybe not time-wise easier, but money-wise easier than buying an automobile at the dealership.
Oh, excuse me. Every time if you go to buy a car, it doesn't matter. It's like you want them to bring you lunch and dinner because you can't get out of the dealership. You reminded me about a situation that happened probably 30 years ago, Brian. A young couple was buying their first home, and we were using a down payment assistance program called CHAC. And don't ask me what its initials stand for because I don't remember. But it was an Aurora program. And on our way to the closing table, I get a call that CHAC ran out of money.
Oh my gosh.
And you're not gonna believe this, but I was able to call. I knew the mayor. I called the mayor, and I don't know where he was. He could have been out on the golf course, but I spoke to Mrs. Mayor, and she found him, and we closed that day.
Oh, wow.
You just reminded me about that. See, everybody, you just keep asking me questions, and I probably have a story for you.
Oh, I know. Well, that's so amazing. And that even brings up what my next question was going to be, because you said realtors and loan officers and people are necessary. And folks right now have the ability to go online, type in something, and all of a sudden things are showing up. And I think we've been taught in our lives that if the computer says it, it must be true, which we know isn't necessarily correct, right? It's only how well it was programmed, right? Or the people who put the information in it. But I mean, what would you say to the importance right now? Because people are trying to do all these things, and I know like in the, I started doing computers back in the 90s and teaching at the university in computers, and there wasn't any internet, and I couldn't do all these comparisons. And now, somebody can go, hey, I saw on the computer that this interest rate was going to be at this rate at this time, and why can't I have that? And so, and I'm sure it's the same thing on your side. I saw that this person got this house, we'll be able to do this. Why does this buyer not? How important are our jobs right now to kind of wade through some of this mess that is considered?
Okay. I think that the computer, the internet, artificial intelligence, all of it is phenomenal because it actually makes our jobs easier. I mean, I'm back from when we were taking pictures, going and getting them developed and cutting and pasting and rubber cementing them onto flyers. So it has helped immensely to make our jobs easier. However, there is nothing that replaces standing in the house and kicking the bricks. And I think that when you're out buying something, you're starting from the ground and you're building a foundation of information. And so if you do research online, great, but you still need to come and look. And there is no replacement for that. Absolutely none.
Yeah, and I think where the separation in my mind comes, because you're right. I can take an application. Somebody can go on an application. I'm not even sure most of our listeners know what rubber cement even is at this point. But sometimes I talk to people. I'm like, "What's a?" I asked a young person the other day what a fax machine was, and they're like, "I have no idea. Never heard of it before."
Our paper.
Yeah, I know. Oh my gosh, I know. Exactly. But when we think about this, I think what's missing in the AI stuff and the computer stuff is the emotional intelligence. And I think, those dreams and those goals, you can't quantify that in a mathematical equation very well. And that's where we come in, is that emotional, because buying a house and that first, emotional experience of what real estate does to you, that's emotional intelligence. And you can't talk to a computer to understand what you're trying to say or what you're trying to feel,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that's why we're so important, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Gotcha.
And actually went to a seminar about AI, and
Oh, there you
the lady who spoke was incredible. I mean, I'm really kind of intrigued with all of it. But she said, you've got to check it. It's not going to replace people. You need to check what it's saying because it's not always going to give you everything that is accurate.
Absolutely. Well, Paula, thank you for today. I mean, we're kind of winding down to the end of our conversation, but I hope you'll be willing to come back on maybe in 6 months or so. Maybe we can bring a client on that you've helped and have them be able to talk about their experience and what they were able to do. Please, tell everybody again how to get a hold of you, and then maybe some closing thoughts that you would love to just impart with people who are going to watch this podcast.
Well, Paula Workman, Workman and Associates, 303-888-1033. Or if you have to, Paula at paulaworkman.com. Parting words. Find somebody that you trust. Find a lender that you trust. Find a realtor that you trust. And interview more than one. Mm-hmm. And work with people that you feel comfortable with, who are going to guide you and help you get your goals accomplished.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for that. And so one of the things that I always say at the end of the shows is you can do this. If you haven't done it before, you absolutely can do this. Even if you're wanting to move and sell your house and you have never sold a house before, you can do this. The other thing is you deserve this. You deserve the American dream and the things that our country has afforded us to be able to do. And homeownership is one of those great ways to create generational wealth, personal wealth, and it's something you can do. And the last thing I always love to say is let us help you. We are professionals. We spend time doing this every single day. When you have somebody's experience like Paula that has years and years of experience, call her. Don't try to figure this out yourself, because you sometimes we can just waste so much time by trying to figure stuff out ourselves. And then we end up calling a person anyways when we're frantic. So I'm saying right now, just give her a call. Even if you don't think that you can do it, even if you don't think this is the right timing, give her a call, please, and let us help put together a plan for you. So thank you again for being on this episode. We'll have another one probably tomorrow that you'll be able to answer, but just to be able to spotlight some people that are doing it. I love it. So thank you again for being on, Paula, and we will talk to you guys on the next one.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
All right.